Red Bull have been quite optimistic about their pace regarding the 2025 pre-season test in Bahrain, as Verstappen opened up about the pace of the RB21. After winning the championship with the third fastest car last year, the Dutchman has been very vocal about the early signs of dominance with the 2025 Challenger, and it might be a lot better than what we hoped for. Even though the changes are almost invisible, Horner has explained that a lot of work has been done regarding the RB21. So with this in mind, what can Red Bull give us ahead of the 2025 season? There is no doubt that Red Bull is one of the teams that has drawn a lot of attention regarding the 2025 pre-season test, primarily because of the fact that they were very secretive when it comes to the car itself. However, now that the curtains have fallen, there isn't too much to be looking forward to, and it seems like the performance of the car might be a lot better than we could have hoped for. When talking about it, Verstappen, the man who set the third fastest time in the first day in Bahrain after clocking in 74 laps, has gone on to say, in terms of driving, everything felt good, only good surprises, so that is positive. We don't know yet where we are in terms of pace, but everything works well and the car does what I want. We have everything under control, and that is the only thing we can hope for at the start of my test. Of course, the situation cannot be assessed so early after just a couple of hours of running, but being positive after these few hours is definitely what you want to hear after having a troublesome campaign last year. Verstappen did win the championship, but ultimately it was with the third fastest car, and the Dutchman was adamant if the development curve continues the way it did in the second half of the 2024 season, there is no way he is going to win the championship. But now in Bahrain, we are seeing a different, more confident version of Max, and while his teammate Lawson would need a bit more time to acclimatise to the car because of the spin he did and the revelation of the airflow to the side pod for their rivals, that wouldn't affect Red Bull too much. Verstappen is happy with what they have gone through in the first day, and this joy has been shared by Helmut Marko as well, with the veteran Austrian adding, "What I can say is that Max had a very good long run and he feels the car better than last year's model, and the new car also reacts more predictably. Those were our weaknesses in 2024, so it looks like we've taken a step forward." I know that many of you are taking the statements from Marko with a pinch of salt, rightfully so, because whenever he's gone on to talk about the performance of the car, it turned out to be quite the opposite. The upgrades, of course, didn't work at all in the mid-season development war in 2024, so this is a scenario that Red Bull would try to avoid at all costs headed into the new season. While the Constructors' Championship might be out of reach because they will depend on a semi-rookie to perform extraordinarily well, apart from Verstappen's talent and speed, the drivers' category is the primary goal for the Austrian team. When Verstappen exited the pits, it was easy to see that he struggled to put the car in the right operating window. He almost lost it in the first 3 laps of the pre-season testing, and rightfully so. You would expect that Verstappen would bounce back and put in a solid number of laps with decent race pace. Even though the team is yet to see where they stand when it comes to this segment of the car's performance, they are optimistic that the changes they've made over the winter have done their thing, and therefore it's easy to accept that the team will be working heavily on the operating window in the next couple of days. This is something that Verstappen mentioned, hinting that the team won't be aiming to crush the 1-lap record in Bahrain, which he has done continuously in the past couple of years, but to focus on the long-term program for the team. Elaborating further on this, he said, "We are constantly learning and trying different things, and we are going to continue to do that. It's not about driving the perfect lap, but about working on our test program and learning in which direction we need to develop the car to get it under control." But what needs to be mentioned as a massive benefit for the RB21 very early in the 2025 season is the flexibility of the front wing. The reports that they might have spent a lot more than they would have wanted according to the FIA's rulebook have been proven by looking at the onboard camera from Lawson. You can clearly see how much the wing flexes under load, and when this will be banned from the 9th race onwards, it's going to be interesting to see how Red Bull is going to be affected by it. The team's attitude is that they will feel little to no consequences at all, but nevertheless, it's not something that can be taken for granted this early in the season, as we have 2 more days of testing ahead of us. Verstappen has a new teammate on which he's going to rely a lot if he wants to fight against 2 fierce McLaren and Ferrari drivers, not to mention the ambitious Mercedes duo, who will be looking to win a couple of races and have their own say in how the season is going to unfold. Again, a big problem might be Lawson's adaptation, because he has already started to feel the pressure from Tsunoda, who will be eager to see the downfall of the New Zealander. but it's way too early to draw conclusions or to talk about topics related to this situation. On the other hand, what Red Bull needs to do is produce a car that could be close to McLaren and Ferrari and then put all of their trust in Verstappen, the man who managed to single-handedly win the Drivers' Championship even though on many occasions his own team was against him, not listening to what he had to say regarding the car's downfall. And while the naysayers will talk negatively about the RB21 when it comes to the looks and similarities it had to its predecessor, hinting that the team did nothing great or revolutionary like their rivals during the winter, Horner would have a thing or two to say regarding that. Elaborating further on this, the team principal of Red Bull was adamant that while you can't see everything with the naked eye, the detail below the car is what brings them a lot of confidence headed into the first race in Melbourne. As he said, I think that in this cycle of regulations, it's clear that the cars have converged and that they look very similar. I think probably Ferrari is a standout as probably being a differentiator, but it's inevitable that marginal gains are going to be there every season. Every surface on our car is different to last year. It just looks similar because it's a similar philosophy. But you can see other cars have converged with that. We've had a good winter. We've prepared well. I think this car, whilst it doesn't look a huge amount visibly different to last year's car, is subtly different in many different areas, and particularly in the areas that you can't see. This season is going to be all about evolution. It's going to be about trying to get incremental bits of performance, and there will be a development race from Melbourne all the way to Abu Dhabi. Again, a bad thing for Red Bull and Verstappen's campaign that can be drawn from the first day in Bahrain could be the fact that Lawson's spin gave their rivals a bit too much to look into, which is a paradise for the rivals of the Austrian team. Although they finished third in the Constructors' Championship last year, Red Bull are known as the masters of aerodynamics, and even though the RB20's upgrades weren't influenced by Newey, it could be a good thing for teams like McLaren, Ferrari and even Mercedes, who are all looking to have strong race paces and maybe even better compared to Red Bull. This has been analysed by Sam Collins, a tech expert in Formula One, who believes that Lawson might have revealed more than his team would have wanted, and they will definitely be grumpy after the spin of the Kiwi driver. Elaborating further on this, Collins said there will be 9 teams in factories, 10 teams actually, with a new team joining next season, screen grabbing that shot we just saw from Lawson spinning. Red Bull won't be that team. They'll be a bit grumpy because everybody's got to see what their flow visualization is doing down their side pod, with the lovely footage there from the pit lane. And the teams absolutely hate when the rivals can have a good look at their flow visualization. You are giving away the invisible secret of every Formula One car, how the airflow is actually working. With all this in mind, do you think that Red Bull has a genuine chance of winning the 5th consecutive championship in the drivers' category? And more importantly, do you think that Verstappen would cement his legacy in the sport by doing so? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're interested in the sandbagging that Ferrari implemented very early in Bahrain, make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.